Hello, everyone. Welcome to eSight Vision Central. eSight Go Eye Hand Coordination Skills for the holiday season on November 22nd, 2024. Thank you, everyone, for joining this morning here for the Vision Central, and hope everyone had a good time. For the agenda today, we're going to look at doing some introduction and housekeeping. We're going to cover the eSight Go MSRP, candidates for the eSight Go, and then eSight Go eye-hand coordination skills for the holiday season. We'll just discuss some kind of general catch-all skills that might be helpful for the upcoming season. So, for introduction, this is live, so things might happen. We might have technical issues or so on and so forth, but we'll do our best. To raise your hand at the end of the meeting, you can press Control Shift and K on a PC for a shortcut command, or you can press on a Mac Command Shift and K to raise your hand to ask questions. Also at the top of the screen, there is an icon that you can press to raise your hand for any questions at the end. This session should only take about 30 to 45 minutes. The MSRP of the eSight Go is as follows. The MSRP in the US is $4,950, and the MSRP in Canada is $6,600. So, candidates for eSight Go. So, eSight Go is designed to help people with an acuity of 2080 to 2600. eSight Go designed to help people with central vision loss, but it can help with other conditions depending on what the condition is. The eSight Go does need to have some functional peripheral vision in order to be able to get that enhanced vision in order to see that image. eSight Go can assist with a variety of visual conditions, but conditions that affect peripheral vision, such as glaucoma and retinitis, retinitis pigmentosa, say that thing 3 times fast, can be more challenging to assist. With those conditions, do recommend, if you're interested in that, calling in, speaking about your condition and finding out if eSight helps you. For us as coaches, we're not able to really diagnose whether a condition is going to be successful or not with the eSight, so I do recommend calling in. But these are just the general guidelines. So if you are curious about eSight and whether it would help you or not, just general acuity is 2080 to 2600. Anything beyond 2600, much more hit or miss, and anything below 2080, people just really don't see the benefit of the eSight technology to enhance their vision, and just kind of the other general guidelines with having some good functional peripheral vision. So we're going to talk about eSight Go eye-hand coordination skills for the holiday season. Planning to talk about basic eSight Go eye-hand coordination skills. And then we're going to talk about writing gift tags with the eSight Go, and then going to talk about gift wrapping with the eSight, some kind of general tips and skill. And I'm going to refer to some general kind of decorating skills and stuff I've discovered as a low vision person as I've been trying to decorate things throughout the holiday season over the years. The first topic was going to be discussed by Richard. I'm not sure if he's having a technical issue or not.
Well,
Oh, you're
um,
there.
I
Hello.
am here. Hi, Tyler. Unfortunately, so when we say this is live, it really is live. And my camera is just not cooperating. But if you can, if it's okay to do it audibly, I'd be
Yep.
more than happy to walk people through the basics of hand-eye coordination.
Sounds good, Richard. Thank you.
Okay. Well, to start, this is going to be a thing that takes practice and takes time. So, give yourself permission to take the time, give yourself permission to fail, um, because it's an ongoing kind of thing. So when I think about hand-eye coordination with in using my Go, there's basically two major different techniques that I use, and then also I eventually you'll kind of blend them together. But one thing that I do is to use my natural peripheral vision underneath the eSight. This helps me be able to kind of use my natural hand-eye coordination where I'm using my peripheral vision, but I'm able to follow my hands, I'm able to follow my feet, whatever, whatever I need to. And how this is going to work is, say that if you're playing cards or if you're doing something on a table, some kind of crafting, something like that, you're using your peripheral vision, and that is allowing you to use that hand-eye coordination to grab things, and then you're looking up in your glasses to be able to see those details. So the thing that you are grabbing, then you're using the eSight to kind of really see the details. So if it's a card, you're using that to see the number in the suit. Um, so that is kind of one technique, and like I said, you will find yourself blending these eventually, but that is kind of the um, peripheral vision version of hand-eye coordination. Um, the other thing that I do, if I'm wanting to look directly through my glasses and and I need to have that hand-eye coordination with that, then what I try to do is be very, very methodical. Um, could call it slow, but I'm going to choose to call it methodical. But whatever I'm using, whether it's a pen, and Jeanette will be talking about that later, or I could be cutting vegetables, I could be using a knife, I could be playing card, whatever it is, I am following the end of whatever instrument I'm using, or my finger, if I'm grabbing something. And I'm basically locating that with the eSight. I'm adjusting my zoom to where I need it. And then I'm following that hand. I'm following the end of that pin um, to ensure that if I'm writing, that I'm writing on the line, or if I'm grabbing something, that I'm reaching in the right spot. But you always kind of want to see the end of what you're using, your pen, your hand, whatever. You want to see the end and then follow that. um, some good little, kind of exercises that you can do are to put some cards on a table, put some change on a table, put anything like that, and just practice looking under the glasses and grabbing it and reaching it, and then practice looking through them and following your hand and grabbing it, and and manipulating it that way. And like I said, you can use whatever you'd like. Now, once you kind of get a handle on doing both of these things, you're going to find yourself doing both of these things without really thinking about it. And you're going to kind of cross between, right? You might be using your peripheral vision, and then when you're looking down, you're like, oh, there's the end of my finger. Grab it. What I'm saying is there's different combinations, there's different um, ways, of doing the hand-eye coordination, and there's not really a wrong answer to it. It's what's best for you. I kind of break it down on those two levels for separation, whether I'm looking through the glasses or whether I'm looking underneath the glasses. Um, but like I said, over time, you'll find that you're going to be doing both, as you progress. So, um, you know, just practice grabbing stuff. But just like I said, cards, change, anything like that. Writing, once Jeanette tells you how to do that, you can practice doing that. But a lot of these things, once you learn the principle of being able to follow your hand, follow that stuff, you can apply it to whatever you are doing with hand-eye coordination, whatever it is, whether it's some kind of hobby, activity, sport. Um, the same principles will basically apply, across the board. So so yeah, I think that's pretty much the basics, or at least that's what I see as the basics.
Perfect. Well, that's great, Richard. Thank you. And one thing too, with that hand-eye coordination skills, the basic, exploring using different tools or different things. I know with myself with the technology, I've gotten more comfortable with say using a screwdriver and building shelves and so forth, and using the eSight to read instructions, but then also to use those tools and so forth. And I think that's quite fun. I built nightstands for my daughter, or I built bookshelves and stuff in the house. And I could do it before with a lot of struggle, where eSight's made it a lot easier to line things up. And with practice, the first time I built something
Yeah.
was much slower, and then I, did again, got faster, and now I'm really good, and I don't need help building stuff, so which is quite nice. So that's great, Richard. Thank you.
Yeah, that's one of the things, Jeanette taught me how to kind of follow the end of whatever you're using. And when you use the screwdriver, that's a perfect example, right? Like most of us were used to feeling for the head of the screw and then feeling for the screwdriver. But with this, you actually can zoom in on the end of that screwdriver and on the head of that screw, and you get them lined up, and away you go. It's
Exactly.
yeah, it's
Exactly.
great.
Yep, sure. All right, thank you, Richard. Well, next we're going to talk about writing gift tags with the eSight Go with Jeanette.
Thank you, Tyler. And thank you, Richard. I think that's a very good segue with that screwdriver, because as you said, you can actually zoom in, once you've identified what you're trying to accomplish with your hand-eye coordination, you can actually zoom in on the target. So on that note, what I tend to do when I'm going to write something, in this case, we're probably going to say maybe gift tags or even Christmas cards for those who still write them and don't just send e-cards. I tend to start zoomed out so that I sort of have a good general view of everything that I'm trying to accomplish. And of course, with eSight Go, you have not a bioptic tilt anymore, that people are used to with eSight 3 and 4, where they actually lift the device up. That doesn't need to happen anymore with eSight Go, because with eSight Go, we have an electronic tilt mode. So on the top right of the eSight Go, you've got a mode switching button, and if you touch it until it goes to tilt, then you can use the value change keys to tilt up or tilt down. And this is great because it means that you don't have to kind of put your head down as much as you would have done in the past. It does a lot of that work for you. So what I would say is, if you want to tilt it down to say -2 or maybe -3, depending on where you are, you just, maybe look down slightly. And I would keep the zoom position zoomed out to maybe 1 or 2 until you've seen exactly where your hand is, exactly where the card is or the gift tag, exactly where the pen is. And then what you really want to do is start to zoom up until you feel comfortable that you are seeing the pen, you are seeing where you want to write. This is why you zoomed out, because now you want to see exactly where you want to write. You're not zoomed in too much at the beginning. So once you've got that perspective, now you could always start with a piece of paper actually and just test how much zoom you need in order to be able to read what you're writing, and at the same time to see your hand so that you don't lose the perspective altogether. It's really about balance. So I would maybe start with a piece of paper to be on the safe side, if this is the first time you're doing it. And so you can establish a good zoom level, and see, okay, let me just write a few things down and see if I can see what I'm writing. And then once you've established that, the chances are in future when you go to write something, you're going to know roughly what zoom level, especially if you've got the volume up and you can't see the zoom level displayed in your eSight, then you can hear it. So if you maybe zoom up to 8 or 9 times, you can hear that, and then you'll know that when you go to write your tags or your cards, you can zoom up to the level that you normally zoom up to. Once you've established where everything is, and now you can start to write slowly. And as you're writing, slowly, and follow it along by moving your head from left to right with your writing. And the good news is, if you're anything like me, I would never have normally been able to read the writing at the size that I needed to make it in order for it to look nice in the card and not absolutely swamp the whole card, with huge writing. I like my writing to be neat. And so with eSight, I found that for the first time, I could actually make my writing neat and read it, which is great. And so that is a wonderful thing. And the other thing is about that is that if you've got a card where you've got you know, a nice little poem in the middle of the card. Typically, a lot of cards have these poems in the middle of them. So you could write your greeting to whoever it was to at the top of the card, and then underneath the writing that's already in the card, you could write your little message and then sign off, and your eSight can help you with that. So that's it.
Very nice. Thank you, Jeanette. That's great. Next, we're going to have a gift wrapping with eSight Go with Leah.
All right, great, thank you. So the first thing to warn you of, if you're not good at wrapping stuff, then just roll with it, you know. So we use the saying at my house that it looks like a blind person wrapped the presents, and you know that is what it is. So don't expect it to be perfect if it's never been that way. You know, the eSight helps with a lot of stuff, just not improving that. So when I was at the store looking for wrapping paper, I actually put my color filter onto grayscale, just so that way I could get an idea of the contrast with the wrapping paper and seeing what I could see versus what I couldn't see. And what I mean by that is there's some wrapping paper with like holographic type stuff and fancier things and everything. And I just wasn't sure if that would have been a feasible thing to make wrapping easier. So I stuck with that grayscale on the color filter, picked out some high contrast wrapping paper, and then I took the grayscale off. It didn't really help me to wrap after that. It was just to pick out the paper itself. When I was wrapping, so nowadays wrapping paper has that grid, those grid lines on the inside of the wrapping paper to help you cut a straight line. Doesn't always help, but you know, it's there for a reason. When I was cutting, in order to see that, I would turn up my contrast. And to do all of these, your contrast, your color filter, you're going to do quick pushes on your mode button, which on the remote is that top button with the circle. On the arm controls, it's your very front button. And you're just going to cycle through till you get to color filter, till you get to contrast, make your adjustments, and then you go back to your zoom. So I would increase the contrast in order to see those grid lines. And I would cut the paper, and then I would take that contrast back down. I would take it away. Most of the time I would use my digital tilt, so that way I could easily see what I was doing if it was below face level type deal. Lower that tilt down to a -4, and then zoom in. While wrapping itself, I purposely did not line the pattern up with itself. And the reason why for that is because it allowed me to see one edge of the paper as it was folded over the opposite edge before taping it down. I think if it had been lined up, or if it was a solid color without any sort of pattern, even a basic pattern, it would have been a lot trickier to see where the two separate pieces were laying over each other to tape them on. Unfortunately, I did not find anything that helped see clear tape easier. But that's just you zoom in enough, you start at one end of the package, and then do a piece of tape. I would have like the tape attached, you know, like stuck the scotch thingy through my thumb, and so that way it was close at hand, and I didn't really have to look around and feel for it and lose my place on the package itself. So I would peel off a strip of tape and then tape, like, let's say the farthest point away from me, and then I would just move down that line. But I would make sure that the wrapping paper the pattern was not lined up with itself. With that being said, I would stay away from like a plaid design. I would do something more that had a little bit more sporadic design, so that way it would look offset from itself, and you can tell the difference in everything. And that's really about it. Just don't expect perfection if you're not already to that point. And then use, like I said, use your color filter, the contrast when you need it, just in those specific instances. And then just start in one area and work your way down. And yeah, that's basically gift wrapping. Or you can just skip all of that and use a gift bag. So
That's
that
great,
makes
Leah.
it a lot easier. So, but yeah.
No, that's very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I was going to get into like kind of some general decorating things that I discovered as someone with low vision, and using the eSight. And it's interesting, you talk about the tape and finding seeing the clear tape. Even just finding where the tape is on the table, right? I've had it where I've been, doing gift wrapping and so forth, and then I knock the tape onto the floor and then try find the tape on the floor. So I have some general tips for things like that, that I want to go into for my topic. So one thing I want to point out to, and Richard mentioned, is kind of basic and high coordination, is being very methodical. So what I find when I've been trying to do things is that when I want to say, if I'm going to be wrapping a gift, I want to have a spot for the wrapping paper, a spot for the gift tag, a spot for the tape, a spot for, say, the pen or the marker I'm going to be signing things with. So kind of have a very organized, coordinated spot of where I expect things to be, and then I'm not really necessarily searching for them as much. So for example, if I like say going to need scissors, I can kind of just reach for the scissors and then, hold the wrapping paper the way I want when I'm trying to cut it, instead of trying to look and scramble for the scissors and so on and so forth. So I find being very organized with the placement of your tools is very helpful for hand-eye coordination tasks. And I even find that the same for like if I'm building something, if I'm have something that my daughter needs batteries in that I need to put in, and I have to use a screwdriver to undo the bottom of the battery compartment. When I'm using that screwdriver to take out that screw, I'm going to be sometimes having a screw that might come out completely from the compartment, or I might have one that just stays in there. So I try to say have a paper towel on the area I'm working with, so that if something falls onto it, I have a high contrast thing to go, aha, there's that tiny screw that should have been in the battery compartment doorway. It fell off the screwdriver, and it's right here. And then I'll immediately try to set it aside so I can go for it when I'm trying to do it that way. The That being said, sometimes things fall on the floor, sometimes things don't go the way you expect, and that's where also eSight can come in, using the filters or using the grayscale to give some a high contrast to that. I was changing batteries in a toy, and a screw rolled down a step, and I found it, but I used the high contrast of the grayscale, and I could see the sheen of the silver screw on the carpet of the stairs. So that was very helpful for where I was doing that. Um, Besides the organizing the tools and so forth, what I find is if I'm decorating, let's say I'm, for example, decorating a Christmas tree, kind of having a spot to go, okay, these are where I'm going to keep the decorations, and then this is the pathway I'm going to use to go to the tree, or where I'm going to go. If I say, for example, I have a decoration in a bin and it's missing a hook to put on the tree, where am I going to place the hook? So I know the hooks are in a certain spot, so that I'm not like say going, okay, where in the coffee table are the hooks? Then put my hand in the wrong spot and be like, yeah, I discovered the hooks, but they've kind of, they pricked my hand. So having a kind of layout that way and a methodology of, okay, step one to step two, or where I'm going to go, I found has been very helpful. And then I find that when I am de-decorating, or depending on the season, or taking stuff down, kind of going through that same process. So, for example, if I had my Halloween decorations up, my daughter was helping me, and she's doing a lot of the decorating. But then we're taking stuff down for the season, kind of going room by room, looking for things, and then making sure that when we're taking stuff down, going, okay, we're going to have a bin. We have an idea of what decoration should go in the bin, and then I can say, okay, we used a push pin to put that up. Let's make sure we take the push pin off and put it in the push pin holder. So hopefully, a week later, I'm not walking around discovering a push pin on the floor accidentally. And I find that very methodical approach really helps with decorating and taking stuff down for the season. Um, when it comes to this general decorating skills, or just say if you're doing decor, there are different tools out there that you just may not discover. So, for example, hanging pictures and so forth. There is a ruler that I saw online where it will have like measurements of say if you're trying to measure how far you're hanging pictures from each other, but there's a little push tack that you can push it on the ruler and it makes a mark on the wall. So then that's where you can place your nail. There's different tools out there that may assist for that, and I would recommend maybe looking for, exploring and looking for it, and know that when you're going to be decorating, you're going to be taking your time. Like when I've tried to decorate a Christmas tree or decorating for the holidays and putting stuff up. It is very much, I'm not like, oh, I have to get this done by a certain amount of time. I'm just going to kind of relax, pour some eggnog, get the tree done. If it takes a few hours, hey, that's a-okay, and kind of go from there. And I've always had a good time with it. The other thing when it comes to if you're using your eSight and you're decorating in general, you have a battery life with the eSight. So, for example, if you're being stationary and say you're doing gift wrapping and so forth, take advantage of the long cord, maybe plug it into a wall outlet, and then you don't have to worry about losing power and so forth. Whereas, say if you're going to be more mobile, that's when you probably want to use the neck battery pack on the eSight Go, or hook it up to a external battery like a Mophie to run that power. And depending on what you're doing, like you might want more of that aspect of walking around, picking things up, so on and so forth. So those are just some general decorating tips to think of. Just as Richard was saying, being very methodical, but I think also just organizing your tools and organizing the layers of what you're trying to do. Okay, so we've covered that for eye hand coordination skills for the holiday season. And are there any questions for hand-eye coordination skills, or anything perhaps someone is interested in doing and they're unsure, but maybe we can help out with? And feel free to raise your hand. And Devesh, if you could call someone out if they raise their hand, that'd be great.
Yep.
I'm not sure if anybody's going to be chatting or not, but that's something that to look at too.
No, everything's been pretty quiet.
Okay. All right. Whoops. I hit a. There we go.
Don't look behind the curtain.
No. I do see a hand come up. Yep.
Yep. TB. Yep. Please go ahead.
How is the eSight Go for walking around?
For walking around, the eSight Go is good. You can be mobile with the device. With how you're walking with the unit, you can either look underneath with your peripheral vision to see underneath the glass, and you can lift them up a little bit, or you can actually take the device off and use the lanyard to put it around your neck. It does take some skill to be mobile with the eSight, but you can definitely do that. How mobile someone is with the unit kind of depends on their acuity and their comfort level with the eSight. But for myself, I'm wearing it right now. I can look underneath, and I have my normal peripheral vision. And then if I look up with my eyes, I can see into the camera. So if I was say walking to a crosswalk, I'd be looking underneath using my white cane, my normal tool. But then I'd aim the camera and across the street, add magnification, and zoom in for it that way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We've got, is that Jacques? Yeah.
Bonjour, Jacques. Bonjour.
Hold on, I don't think he has access to anything yet. Nope, it looks like you can. So, Jock, you just unmute yourself, and then you can talk.
Activez votre microphone, Jacques.
Voilà.
There we go.
Voilà, voilà.
Oui. Can you hear me?
Oui, bonjour.
Yep.
Well, right. The question I want to ask is, can you use the external batteries that you use when on trip with your iPhone, for instance, for the eSight Go?
So what type of external battery there? So
What kind of batteries that you take along with you when you go on a trip, for instance, to put some power in your iPhone or these
Yep.
kind of devices? Yeah, can you use it on with the eSight Go?
Yes, depending on the model of the battery, but yes, in general. So the eSight Go can be powered by an external charger battery. The two brands that we find work well with eSight are Mophie, Mophie, and Anchor, to work well for charging and powering the eSight Go.
Okay.
I would recommend trying it out and just being able to make sure you can return it. The basically those two ones work well. Other brands are very hit and miss. I have a few different brands across the house, and I can get one of the three other brands to work. The other ones don't send enough power to the eSight. But those two, Mophie and Anchor, do work well. I was on a cruise once back many years ago, and I used one of those external batteries to keep my eSight. Now this was an eSight 3, but I used that to keep it going throughout the day when I was participating in various activities, and I had a great time with it.
The other
Okay,
thing I
thank
would
you
add
very
to
much.
that, I would add that make sure that you use the cables that are supplied with the eSight device for those batteries. That's important. So even though you use the short cable maybe or the long one, most people find the short one when it's portable, is the most convenient. They're textured, so you can tell if you have many different USB-C cables at home, you'll be able to tell this one is textured and it's thick. So we always recommend that even if you use like a Mophie or something else, use the cables that are supplied with the eSight with those.
Okay, correct. Understood. Thank you
Right.
very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See you.
Any other hands?
John, please go ahead. You'll have to unmute your mic.
Are you there? Unmuted.
Yep, we can hear you, John,
Hey.
if that's you.
Well, trying to figure out how to operate this thing has
There you
been
go.
a challenge. My question is, how does this eSight work with people with macular degeneration?
Well, in general, how the eSight works is that the eSight has a high definition camera in the front, and there's two screens that you're looking into, and the eSight is sending the image to the peripheral part of your vision. So with conditions like macular degeneration and central vision loss, the eSight is trying to send the image from the camera to around the damaged part of your retina, and then you're seeing basically the images going to your peripheral are then combined in your brain as a single image. So if you're dealing with a scotoma and so forth with your vision, it's trying to allow you to see around it. And for some people, the scotoma scotoma may fade away or look like it disappeared entirely on the person, but it's using that peripheral vision to enhance it and then adding magnification and contrast to give a better image.
Okay, 'cause like I say, I'm just trying to figure out how this would benefit me, because my left eye is fine. It's considered dry. My right eye is gone wet, and that's where I've lost my central vision. And I was just wondering
So
how this. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
So for something where, say, if you don't have any sight in your one eye, but you do have in the other eye, you can turn off the screen so it's just a monocular view, but it's still trying to enhance and send it to your peripheral vision. How well you get a benefit from the eSight, it's very individual based depending on your acuity. So for someone like yourself, with your one eye with the macular degeneration, that's what we'd focus on, would be the benefit that you're seeing there with that. So you'd be looking to the camera, and then the idea is that the screen, they're sending the image to the peripheral part of your vision around your central blind spot.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Time for another question.
Ashra Zira Ali, please go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. I have the eSight Go, and Richard, I'm trying to locate you to be able to send you a message to help me with doing the Wi-Fi update. So if you can send me a message, because I
Okay.
can't seem to find you in my email.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I had just called you last week about that. But yeah, let me give you a call.
I missed your call. I missed your call. Yeah, I missed your
Okay.
call.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. I'll get you my contact information. I'll send you an email and make sure that has everything that you need. And then I can give you a call to walk you through it. Real simple.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, that's my question.
No problem. Great. No problem. Excellent. Okay, well, why don't we wrap up for today? If anyone has any questions or anything else, if you have a coach, feel free to reach out to your coach, or you can call in if you have questions about eSight and whether the technology would help you. But thank you, everyone, for joining for this month's Vision Central on Eye Hand Coordination, and looking forward to seeing everyone at the next event. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thanksgiving to everybody as well.
Okay, goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.